Hi and welcome back to Jim Builds. I'm Jim and this is the gearbox adapter plate that has become a bit of a problem. Now you remember last time that the starter motor the pinion was firing and turning the flywheel, which was great, but it wasn't releasing, and that's a bit of a problem. So I've had to take everything apart and we're going to go back to basics and figure out where I went wrong, because something's not right with this. I'll show you what I've set up. We'll get into it. So the first place to start was back with the original template that I made out of 1.5mm steel. I've got the starter motor already wired up down on the battery there with a simple on-off switch. It looks sketchy, and that's probably because it is, but it's doing the trick. There is some flex in this plate, like I can wiggle the starter motor a bit, but let's just check the starter motor again. And it's working. So that's correct, which is a good place to be. Looking like there's a problem between this plate and the 1.5mm plate just down here in front of me. I think really what's happened is human error. When I've gone to drill the plate, I've aligned the majority of the holes, and unfortunately one of them is a fraction of a mil out, and it's enough that the flywheel and pinion, they meet but they don't release. That's just human error. Now what I did do whilst I was doing some welding on the underside, I got this plate off and I scanned it using the Pop 3 that I bought just before Christmas. And you can see it here. So what I've done is taken a scan of it, only the top, because I don't need to worry about the thickness. What I was looking at was the hole positions, and then drew it in, took all those dimensions and created a brand new CAD model. It took me a few hours. It worked out well though. I'm really happy with how it looks, and I've managed to tidy up a few things. So there's some straighter lines where they need to be straight, radiuses are proper, rather than it just been guess stuff that I did with the saw. I'm never going to get it perfect with a jigsaw particularly. But one thing that gave me an idea of was producing this. Now this is the two forward mounting holes and the two for the starter motor, because what I wanted to check was if those dimensions were correct for the engine to the starter motor. Now these two I know, I have the scans worked out well within fraction of a mil of where they should be, but also I've got dimensions from a Ford drawing based off the BDA that confirm these, so I know where these are. What I've done is tidy up some of the dimensions on this and taken some dimensions off the flywheel and the starter motor itself. Hopefully if I put this on the engine, it's going to work. And if that works, then we're a bit closer to getting something right. So I'm just going to throw that on. With the plate on, I've got some flex, but I kind of expect that it is plastic. I've got it all wired up, so let's give it a try. So the dimensions I've got are correct. It's a really good place to be. From that, I can now finish off the plate drawing and see if I can get something made up. But I'll be back. So I've just got back from the laser cutters and I've got this. I'm really excited to show you what it looks like. It does look like a really well made piece, but I think to really show it off, I'm going to put it side by side, show you where we've come from to what we've got now. As you can see, we've got the 6mm on the left. Firstly, a bit of a bend in that plate, I've just realised. And this is the new 8mm plate. So I've got the same holes drilled and tapped for the Ford gearbox. The Mazda, oh sorry, I've countersunk these ones at the top of the engine for the Ford. And then on the Mazda side, I've actually countersunk top and bottom. I think that actually works out quite well when we come to location, but also getting a real flush face on the what would be the front of the gearbox, where I've got the engine really close at the top and the steering arm is close at the bottom, so that should relieve any issues there. And the other thing is basically how nice some of the curves are and things. I did as best I can do with an angle grinder and the jigsaw, but this actually looks and feels a lot more professional, which is what I wanted. But with enough talking, let's get it on the engine and see what it actually works like. So the plate is on. First impressions, everything's bolted up, which is nice. You know, I've not had to mess any holes around. These countersunks are very flush, so that's always nice. I did make space on the gearbox for the heads of those, but actually I don't think that was a good idea, so that's why I've gone countersunk there. But the fitment on it is great. We've got no flexing. It looks straight and everything's handy there. I will put the countersunks in before this goes back on, because I've realised that there's no way I'm going to get the bolt through there. Yeah, so enough waffle. Let's get it fired up and see whether this thing works. It works! Yes! Pinions firing off. No problems. No. That's really smooth. I wasn't expecting it to be as easy as that. So with that said, firstly, I'm ecstatic. And secondly, I think I'm going to call this one a complete win for now. What I need to do next is get all this back on the proper engine in the car and get the gearbox in there so we can start doing the clutch and checking all that fits, but also making sure the gearbox mounts on here as well. I think it will. The measurements I've taken, everything seems to line up, and yeah, I'm really happy about that. So on with the testing. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's a bit of a brief one, but I'll be back soon with some more cool stuff, basically. Right, thanks for watching. See you soon.